I know. Friday Night Fridays was on a Saturday, but listen, I'm gonna be completely honest. I lost, I lost everything. Like, bro, I lost my headphones. I lost the battery to my freaking camera. I was about to do this video 1 o'clock on a Thursday night, so it's basically Friday early morning. I was gonna upload it that Friday night, but it's your boy Shamari back with another one. Fright Night Fridays, go!
Drugs in my head, you heard what I said. No 5, no 10, no 15, 20, just perk that is in my mid.
This first animation, we got The Roommate animated February 27, 2020.
This video is sponsored by NordVPN. More
Oh
details
my
at the end.
gosh. I'm okay.
Looking for a new roommate is always a daunting task. Even though you interview and take the time to get to know that person, you don't truly find out who they are until you start living with them. I had begun searching for a roommate after I decided to leave my current residency. I was contacted a couple of hours after placing an ad on the Facebook Marketplace. The message read,
"Hey Chris, I'll be moving out of my current apartment this August and I'm looking to room with someone new, as my roommates are moving to California this year. I'm 27 and am currently going to school. When I'm not at school, I enjoy hiking and watching movies. I also apprentice at a taxidermy shop on the days I don't have class. Hope that's not weird. It's always been a fun hobby of mine. Anyway, I'm looking forward to hearing back.
I can't have a
great
roommate.
day."
You gotta be somebody I know. Like, you gotta be like a good friend of like 5 years.
Reading the message was to check her profile. She was a medium height, had long, messy blonde hair and green eyes. In her profile picture, I saw her standing with a man and a woman shoulder to shoulder. They each adorned goofy grins and held up peace signs. Under the photo, the caption read, "Love my roommates." I smiled to myself and decided to send her a message back. The sun beat
Why the
down
girl
on
in the
us
back
and
just
we
standing there
curious
looking like that?
objects
Y'all
to
saw
the
that?
second floor of our new apartment. It took us a couple days to get everything out of the moving trucks and into our new place, but as soon as we did, a wave of relief washed over our sweat-drenched and sore bodies. After a couple more hours of rearranging, we each grabbed a beer from the fridge and sat on the porch. We reminisced about old 90s cartoons and what video games we obsessed over as kids, and as the sun started to set, I truly felt relaxed and confident that things were going to work out. A week later, I started a new job
Hold
at a
on,
construction company that was owned by a good friend of mine. As I was getting ready,
What's the
I
point
heard the
of
front
having a
door
room?
swing open.
A roommate.
I walked into the living room to see Lunaire and her friend David sliding in a large box. "What you got there?" I asked. Through a strained grunt, she replied,
"I bought a freezer to store some of the animals I'm planning on using in my taxidermy work. I hope that's alright."
I was obviously hesitant at first, as there was no mention of this happening in the first place, but I eventually accepted and returned to my room to continue getting ready for work.
Okay.
I came home at around 9
I'd have
p.m.
been,
after
I'm
having a
sorry,
couple
I
of
can't
beers
do
with
it.
friends and noticed that the freezer was nestled snugly in the lower part of the pantry. A low hum could be heard reverberating off of the inner walls. I was curious to see what was inside, but didn't want to intrude on Lunaire's business, so I went into my room
Sucker.
and changed
I would
into
have
more
been living
comfortable
there.
clothing.
That'd been the first thing I do when I got in the house.
I came back out to the kitchen and started making a sandwich. I opened the fridge and grabbed what I needed. As I turned around, I stubbed my toe on the edge of the island countertop and let out a long, exasperated grunt. Through my frustration, I slammed the fridge door shut and checked my toe to see if there was any bleeding. As I raised my
Dang, I
head
don't think
back up, I was greeted by a shadowy
I
figure.
don't think I ever thought my toe enough for it to
was
bleed.
standing in the doorway leading to her room. The darkness behind her almost seemed to envelop her.
"Is everything okay?"
She said in a deadpan tone. "Shit, yeah, I'm sorry. I just slammed my toe into the corner of the countertop as I was making a sandwich. I hope I didn't wake you,"
"It's fine."
she said, in the same deflated tone as before. She then turned around and walked back into
What
the
in
darkness
the-
of her room. I could tell that she was pissed, so I quietly made my sandwich and retreated back to my room as well, only hearing the low hum from the freezer as I closed my door. I had the next day off, so I was able to sleep in a little longer than usual. When I finally emerged from my room, I walked into the kitchen to make breakfast. As I opened the refrigerator, I noticed that the light wasn't turning on.
You see how you
with a
spell
lack of
juice
cold air
or juice?
escaping from
J-O-O-S.
inside. I turned around and flipped the light switch to confirm my suspicion. Sure enough, the power was out. Damn it, I muttered under my breath. I walked over to Lunaire's room and knocked on her door to tell her about the power outage if she didn't already know, but there was no answer. I then remembered that she had classes that day and probably wasn't home. I walked back to the kitchen and past the pantry. As I did, I slipped on the floor but was able to catch myself on the countertop. What the? I angrily exclaimed as I looked down at the floor trying to figure out what I had slipped on. It was blood.
Bruh.
It started to leak from the corner
Probably
of the
came
freezer
from his
and
toe.
onto the floor.
Never mind.
I quickly tried to open the freezer to find
No?
out the cause
Okay.
of the viscous liquid, but then I noticed that it had a padlock attached to it. I don't remember seeing that before. I ran out to my car and grabbed my toolbox from the back seat. I approached the freezer and set my tools down on the nearby countertop. I then pulled out a small pair of bolt cutters and snapped through the metal of the padlock. It fell to the ground with a large thud. I creaked open the top of the freezer and was greeted with a putrid stench that permeated my nostrils.
Oh, I seem like I
quickly
smelled
pinched
that.
my nose and walked away gagging in response. I guess I should have realized that was gonna happen, I muttered to myself in between gags. After gaining my composure, I grabbed some gloves from under the sink and started taking inventory. I could see a couple of dead birds and plastic bags wedged into the corners of the freezer. I took each bag out and set them in the trash can nearby. That's when I noticed that the blood was coming from the corner of the larger black bag. I don't know why, but I decided to open the top of the bag and peer inside. I was greeted by large, milky white eyes, a swollen black tongue surrounded by cracked and bloated lips, and the matted hair of a human head. I swiftly dropped the bag
that's when
and
you
fell
run.
backwards onto
Yeah.
the floor. My breathing
But wait, how did the
ceased to
blood
exist,
leak?
and I grabbed
No,
the
like when you
trash
think
can
about
next
it,
to me and expelled my
it
disgust
would have
into
leaked
it.
when they first put it there.
I then ran out the door.
Because her blood would have
into
been
my car,
frozen,
and
right?
called the police. As I sat in the interrogation room with a blanket over my shoulders, I couldn't help but think about the face I'd seen. It looked so familiar. That's when it finally hit me. I pulled out my phone and looked at Lunaire's profile picture. It was her old roommate, the one she said was moving to California. When the detective entered the room, she started the questioning process, asking me if I started noticing any weird behavioral occurrences around the apartment. Yeah, I stubbed my toe the other day, and she creepily stood in the doorway. It seemed like she was pissed, but for some reason I had a strange feeling like she was concerned about something. That's when I connected the dots. She didn't come out into the kitchen because she heard me stub my toe. She came out into the kitchen because she thought I slammed the freezer instead of the fridge. A cold sweat started to form on my forehead
What?
as my surroundings became blurred.
How you add that up?
I could hear a low whine.
She came out there
slowly
because she
starting
thought I
to cover
closed
up
the
words of
freezer.
concern from the detective. As my vision started to clear, I could see another officer enter the room and whisper something into her ear as he handed her a piece of paper. "Do you have somewhere you could stay at?" she asked. I mean, I was planning on staying with my parents. They live about 30 minutes outside of town. Okay, she paused. Listen, I don't want to worry you, but we found this picture inside of your apartment. She slid the piece of paper across the table, and I immediately felt like someone kicked me in the chest. The head of Lunaire's other roommate sat on the chair. In the background, scrawled on the wall in blood, read, "Love my roommates. All of them."
Drugs in my head. You heard what I said. No 5, no 10, no 15, 20, just perk that is in my head.
So the second horror one we have is not everything we see in sleep paralysis is a hallucination. Oh, you. Thriller teller. That's a cool way to put it. I hate this music, bro.
My name is Amber, and ever since
in
my
the-
childhood, I've experienced sleep paralysis a lot more than the average person. And let's just say, it's one of the most unpleasant things you can experience. Since childhood, I've always had vivid hallucinations when I was experiencing sleep paralysis, and they've always scared me, even to this day. This story is one of the most terrifying things that have and ever will happen to me in my lifetime. It all started in late January. I had just moved into this new house in a small village on the island of Hawaii. My house is near a deep pond, and I got it for a good deal because it was supposedly haunted, and no one else wanted to purchase it. But I've never really believed in the paranormal or anything like that,
Until now.
so I just saw the good deal on a decent-sized house and took it. A few weeks after buying the house, a big snowstorm hit one night, causing the power to go out and snowing me in. I couldn't see a thing, so I decided that I would head to bed early and get an early start on unloading boxes the next day. I hopped into bed, pulled my blankets over me, and fell asleep in the pitch black room.
Pitch black already got me scared.
I woke up to the noise of tapping at my window.
Bro, what the frick is that, bro?
I tried to get up but realized I couldn't move at all. Sleep paralysis took over my whole body. The strange boy kept staring at me.
How you know what
His
that
eyes
is?
were pitch black as if he had no pupils. He had a wide, inhuman, devilish grin, and his teeth
Who
were
sleeps
huge.
with they
I was terrified
with their
and
curtains
wanted
open
to scream,
anyway?
but I couldn't and was forced to watch him. I kept telling my mind that it was just a hallucination, but it was a lot more vivid than any other hallucination that I had ever had. Then in a split second, he was gone. I calmed myself, thinking it's all going to be over soon now. My fear started to rise when I heard the noise of clanging in the kitchen. Did he break into my house? I was getting paranoid. I couldn't move. I strained my eyes to try to see the bedroom door through the darkness, and I could see something. A figure
Bruh.
standing on the other side of my bedroom door. He slowly opened the door. It was the boy. I could hear every footstep he made. He continued to creep towards my bed, and I could see his devilish grin from the corner of my eye. He just stood there for minutes, and it was lasting longer than any sleep paralysis I had ever experienced. I felt that I was about to die. I was just praying it would be over soon. My prayers were answered, and I was finally able to move again. The boy was gone. The next morning when I woke up, I felt something strange as I walked on the carpet. The carpet was
Bro.
soaking wet.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
At that point,
Time for you
it
to
hit
go.
me.
Time for you to go.
Was it really a hallucination?
Nope. It
Or
was
did
real.
someone actually come into my room
Yeah.
last night?
Yeah.
I shared this incident with some of the neighbors, and it turns out there was a spooky story about the pond near my new house. Back in 1947, a group of kids were playing on the banks of the pond. One boy accidentally tripped over a log and fell into the water. Before any of the other children could react, the boy sank beneath the water surface.
He didn't swarm or anything. He just soaked.
For a few moments, they waited for him to resurface, but there was no sign of him. Horrified, they ran back to the village to get help. Some local men came as fast as they could and dived into the pond, searching for the young boy. They were terrified by what they found. The boy was sitting on a rock at the very bottom of the pond. His arms were hanging down by his sides, and his body was swaying back and forth with the currents. His eyes were wide, and his mouth was hanging open, but he was dead in the water. The eerie sight sent shivers down the spines of the
He
men
got a
who
whole
dived in
scoop.
to save him. They were deeply disturbed and said it was such an unusual
Man got a
way to
whole suit
drown.
on.
It was
In a
as if
village
the
in
boy had calmly
1947.
sat down on the rock and waited there to die. Ever since, bizarre rumors began to spread around the area. Many villagers believe that the ghost of the drowned boy lurked beneath the deep waters of the pond. They said that at night he would come to the surface cold, wet, and shivering, his icy hands clutching at unsuspecting victims and trying to pull them into his watery grave. According to the rumors, he was trapped in this world by accident, and the only way he could escape was to find someone else to take his place at the bottom of the pond. As I mentioned before, I don't really believe in the paranormal, but that creeped the hell out of me. After that, I put my house up for sale as I am no longer able to sleep peacefully in this house. A strange, eerie feeling always keeps me restless. But unfortunately, so far, no one has come to view the house or made any offers, as it was famous for being haunted. My current situation does not allow me to rent a house, so I am stuck here. I just
Bruh.
hope I am able to get out of this place.
You ain't got no cousin, no grandma, no mom, dad. Better get a hotel. That's all I got to say. Bruh, that one, I was, when it first started, I was like, this was not gonna be that good. I'm gonna cut this one out and make another one. You watch this whole video through. Put S Squad with a red heart if you watch this whole video through. To all my brothers and sisters, peace.